President Biden left the U.S. without his spending plan, which included a 15% global minimum tax on corporations that he wants the rest of the world to sign on to. Also without his big climate change push. Monday, he'll be in Scotland to commit to make economic changes in the name of climate change. But leaders of Russia and China, the two largest global polluters, will not be there. Joining us now is Fox News contributor and Price Futures Group senior analyst Phil Flynn. The only guy to talk about energy with is Phil. Phil, what, if anything, do you expect to see from this climate conference, especially without China or Russia there?
Well, I'm thinking maybe we could see some adolescents yell at world leaders again. That might be fun. Nothing. We're going to get nothing out of this. And the bottom line is President Biden keeps saying America's back. He wants to show that he's leading the world on climate change. But he can't get it done at home and he can't get it done on the road. And he's starting to realize, I hope, that the climate change dream or the carbon neutral dream is an impossible dream right now. And we have to face the realities of keeping people warm this winter and keeping gas in their gas tanks. And that's not going to happen this winter, at least not at a cheap price.
Right, and that's a perfect segue. Americans are feeling that elevated energy prices, and you're talking about at home with oil hovering near a 7-year high. Americans are feeling the pain at the pump also. What's your reaction? I mean, it's 58% increase at the pump from gas prices for a regular gallon of gas last year to this year. So the president forcing big climate change moves like going after fossil fuels through regulation or executive orders as we're struggling with energy prices. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I think at the end of the day, the President Biden has made a huge mistake by trying to demonize the U.S. energy industry. We had this big Senate House panel, about climate change and how big oil is evil and hid the truth about climate change. But in reality, they're going to need them to do a successful energy transition. What's happened? Because he has a bad relationship with U.S. energy companies, he's now going to go overseas along with other countries and beg OPEC to produce more oil. What is wrong with the United States producing more oil? So this is a fundamental mistake, and it's costing us in the economy at home.
Yeah, and we saw similar things in the 70s and with leading up to the stagflation there. So what's driving these prices higher now?
It's a combination of short-sighted energy policies by global leaders. The same people that are going to be here touting how wonderful a job they did, closing down coal plants and shutting down natural gas production fields and building wind and solar farms that don't work when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. They're going to be congratulating themselves. But at the same time, they're going to have to face the reality that they could see public uprisings because of higher gasoline prices, higher heating bills. And they're going to have to come up with the reality that we're worried about people dying in the future, maybe 50 years from now from climate change. People could die this winter if they can't get heat or electricity. And that's the reality they're going to have to really face.
Right. And so switching gears here a little bit, a Wall Street Journal op-ed was questioning the plans to go to net zero by 2050, writing, quote, "The politicians who make promises about how energy will be delivered within 3 decades can be fairly certain that they will be merely footnotes in history." Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, the bottom line, even if you look at the people that are pushing the climate change, they admit to get to net zero emissions, the technologies don't exist yet. They figure if they spend trillions of dollars, it will come. But that's a gamble, and they're gambling with your money.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you, Phil Flynn. Again, the only guy to talk to about energy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.